This video will contain minor spoilers for Kiosk version 1.04, as well as a few jump scares. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, sorry for my voice, I'm really sick right now. This is my first itch.io review of hopefully many, so I will take this opportunity to lay the groundwork for what these videos are and how they will be structured. If you just want to skip to the review, there will be timestamps in the description, and there will also be one displayed on screen right now. These videos will not be completely spoiler-free, but also not comprehensive breakdowns of the games either. I will only show or explain certain story beats when I feel absolutely necessary for the point and quality of the video, and I'll try not to spoil some of the better moments so as to maintain the most authentic experience for those who want to play for themselves. Also, while I will give an overall numerical rating at the end, there is not a super comprehensive list of criteria for how I come up with those numbers. They're just whatever feels right. I will also not specifically recommend any of these games. I'll leave the links to them in the description, and I trust you, the viewer, to decide whether or not you want to play it. If I don't finish a game, I won't review it. I will also only be reviewing the version of the game that I played, down to the version number when possible, which will typically be specified in the title, thumbnail, and/or description depending on the game. I don't want to misrepresent games by reviewing one version of the game and then people later going to the game page to find an updated version that is completely different, hence this specification. Finally, I would like to state up front that regardless of any criticisms within these reviews, I ask that you do not show hate to the creators of any of the games, as they are typically indie projects often made by only one person. These reviews are simply my opinion, and more importantly, are for fun. I'm a senior in high school, not a professional game critic. Any criticisms I make are made out of a place of constructiveness rather than malintent, and are also made with the understanding that my ventures into game development are rudimentary at best, and are instead made from the perspective of a somewhat casual enjoyer of video games. If you take these videos super seriously, I will side-eye you. Bombastically. Finally, commentary-free footage of my playthroughs of these games are available on my channel and linked in the description, and my playtimes as well as more brisk reviews are also logged on How Long to Beat. Today, I will be reviewing Kiosk, specifically version 1.04. It is a first-person horror cooking game created by Vivi. On paper, the game seems quite similar to the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. The game is separated by days, you're working the night shift at a restaurant after the last guy stops showing up, your play space is very limited, and there are jump scares. However, the gameplay itself is much more reminiscent of the one time I played the first Amnesia game for like an hour before quitting, and this one old Minecraft map.
So pretty much, we just work as a fast food person, and apparently, I'm the only person who works here. Okay, this is fine. The lettuce is duplicating, everyone. Lettuce, please. Yep, this lettuce situation is getting a little bit crazy. Put it in here. Oh my goodness, look at this. It's crazy. What's going on? Lettuce is everywhere.
And the horror is mostly psychological. This game follows in the footsteps of the somewhat recent surge of indie horror games with PS1-esque graphics, and the bulk of the game is just making food, filling orders for a variety of customers. The horror mostly comes from the moments in between customers and the persistent feeling that something else is in the kitchen with you. The jump scares, while not using loud noises or graphic imagery, are some of the most effective I've experienced in a game or any form of horror media for that matter. My gameplay doesn't have any commentary, but you can still see the visceral reaction I had to the first one. Aside from the jump scares, which are used pretty sparingly, a lot of the horror comes from talking to the customers, usually after you've finished their order. The most obvious example of this is... In addition to these dialogue moments that are immediately obvious to be freaky, is a really good example of setup and payoff from something that happens on the first day. This level of well-executed psychological horror and storytelling is something I certainly didn't anticipate while downloading this game, which I admittedly assumed would just be a FNAF clone, and the gameplay itself is also very smooth and even fun once you get the hang of it. Also, I didn't know where else to put this because I didn't think to put it in the script for this video, but the rain in the background first serves as good ambience, but also sometimes it'll sound slightly off and it makes you think, oh, is something in the kitchen with me? And that really helps serve the, creepy environment. The game definitely could have done a better job explaining how the food building system works. Me taking 10 minutes to make my first hot dog. But it is also important to keep in mind that not only is this presumably a very early version of the game, but it's also the first game by this game dev, so things like this can easily be written off as just growing pains. The ending is also a bit underwhelming, though not nearly as egregious as, Slender the Arrival, which is easily the most disappointing ending to a piece of horror media that I have ever seen. It's unclear what's in the box, and it doesn't feel like payoff to anything, nor is it even really particularly scary, but the experience of this game as a whole more than makes up for a forgettable ending, especially considering the game is under an hour, possibly even closer to half an hour, if you don't take a century making the first hot dog and also take a century before triggering one of the jump scares. On the whole, I give this game a 9 out of 10. For reference, this is the same score that I gave to Alone With You, The Wolf Among Us, Hatoful Boyfriend, and the PS1 demo disc version of Heartworm, all of which are great games. The only things keeping this from being a 10 out of 10 are, again, the lack of clear instructions at the beginning, the underwhelming ending, and also there's not very many notes from the previous worker who disappeared, despite your boss even specifically pointing them out. There's only 2, that I could find at least, and I looked all over the very small map multiple times. Again, though, this is an early version of the game, some more flavor text would just be nice. With all that said, I quite enjoyed this game, and my criticisms, aside from the ending, which wasn't that big of a deal anyways, are just nitpicks and things that will possibly be smoothed out in future updates anyway. I will put the itch.io link in the description in case you are wanting to play it for yourself, and it is also getting a Steam release at some point, which is very exciting. All of the love to the creator, and I can't wait to see what they do in the future.